Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the What Shara Made podcast. I've got one FO, an almost FO, and a couple of whips, and then a couple of other little things to show you. We've had a really lovely day today actually. The weather has been spectacular. It's Saturday the 3rd of December 2016. And it was quite warm today, about 30 degrees, and it's been bright and sunny and lovely. I've got a lot of washing dry outside on the line, which was fantastic. And I went out for lunch with my brother and two of his kids, and then we went for a drive up to the redwood forest, and I took a bit of footage and a couple of photos, and I'll slot those in at some point in the video. You might have already seen one at the start. And I'll put a couple more in later. But I'll get started with my whips. This one is almost an FO. If I showed it to you from this side, it would look like an FO. Don't mind that wrinkliness and that random stitch marker just hanging around in there. So obviously it's a top for me, it's a t-shirt. The front and the back are the same until I finish the front. What I'm doing is duplicate stitch on the front there, and it's going to be a little bit Christmassy across the front there. There's going to be two prancing deers and a big snowflake in the middle. And this is my version of a Christmas jumper because it's summer now and it's too hot to wear a woolly jumper for a Southern Hemisphere Christmas, so I will be wearing my cotton Christmas t-shirt. Hopefully I'll have that finished by the next episode so you can actually see what it's going to look like. I mean, you've got a vague idea of what it's going to look like there. Initially when I planned this top, I was going to do intarsia there, so fairer intarsia colour work for that. But as I was knitting it, I realised it was probably going to be reasonably difficult just where I had the pieces in the picture positioned. It was going to be quite hard to do neat intarsia. So I figured I could do it with duplicate stitch and it would be a little bit easier and it would probably end up looking a bit neater. So you can see there I've just got that stitch marker to mark the centre so I can place everything in the right spot. And I haven't used a pattern for this, it's just pretty basic design. Put a bit of ribbing, it's bottom up and knit around until you get to the armholes and you split and you knit back and forth for the front and same on the back, and then do a 3 needle bind off at the shoulders. And the 3 needle bind off here at the shoulders rather than grafting gives a little more stability to the shoulders so they don't slope down. If you wanted to have a more relaxed fit with a drop shoulder, for example, which is a lovely style, you would probably graft rather than do a 3 needle bind off so that you would have that drape. But I wanted it to be sit up on my shoulders, and it's got little short sleeves that were knit on. So once the shoulder seam was joined, I've picked up stitches around the armhole and then done short rows back and forth to get the sleeve, and then just done a little band of rib around there, and it looks quite nice on. It is reasonably short, but as in short this way, because I plan on wearing it mainly with skirts, and most of my skirts sort of sit on my true waist, which is higher than where I would normally wear it for for example, if I was wearing jeans. I don't really plan on wearing it with jeans, but I think it's going to look cute. I probably won't be able to really wear it if it's going to be over about 25 degrees though, because even though it's cotton, it's still pretty warm. So I'm looking forward to having that. It's just got like a boat neck opening there. Really happy with that. So I hadn't cast this on the last time I filmed. I think I cast this on a Monday afternoon, maybe. And it's been a pretty quick knit. I haven't spent that much time on it because I've had a very busy week. So it did come along quickly, thankfully. So hopefully that one will be finished by next episode, and if the weather permits, I might even be able to wear it for you. My next whip is a pair of socks. Now let me see if I can untangle the yarn that's attached to it, maybe, without clanging too many needles on the table, because that can be a pretty loud sound. Now let's see what's going on. So what's happening here is I'm getting yarn tied around my stitch marker. So I'm knitting a pair of socks, obviously 2 at a time, toe up, and look a bit weird, they're really catching that light. These are being made, they're just going to be vanilla socks, and I'm just going to knit them until I run out of yarn. You might remember this yarn that I showed you in an earlier episode. It was just in skeins then, and it's some yarn that I've hand spun and then I've Navajo plied, and it's a merino nylon blend, which is meant to be ideal for socks, just like your normal sock yarn blend. And you get a bit of an idea, it's reasonably even. Doesn't really want to focus, but you get the idea. So they're coming along quite nicely, but I don't know if it's really noticeable or not, but this sock is considerably bigger than this sock in the width department, and it would appear that one ball, I spun them separately, is fatter than the other ball. So I don't know if that's going to even out at some stage, or if I'm just going to have one giant sock and one small sock, but never mind. They're just for me, so they don't need to be too perfect. But I really like it. The fabric's coming up really beautifully. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera there. Oh yeah, it's focusing. So you get an idea of the texture. It's coming up very nicely. It doesn't really look like hand spun at all once it's knit up. It's really quite lovely. So I'm really enjoying working on those. I'm a bit slower doing 2 at a time because there's a bit of yarn management to be done, but nowhere near as slow as I thought I'd be. These are Xiaogu needles, and can you see that they're like bent at the join here, and that's meant to be ergonomic, but it's actually just really annoying. If you were knitting something large, it might not be as annoying, but it's actually a real bummer to try and get slip stitches over that bend, and when you're trying to do magic loop and you're trying to push a bend through here, like, that is not brilliant. It is not a good design. And when I ordered these online, it was not the needles that were in the image in the product page for these had a straight edge here. They weren't bent like this. And I have other pairs of these needles that also aren't bent. They're straight and they're much better, but not in this size. So maybe I just need to contact the seller and ask if they have any that are actually like in image without the bend in them in that size. But I don't know, it is a bit annoying, but never mind. I'm still really enjoying working on these socks. And this winding, if you follow me on Instagram, I recently put a picture of these balls up on my Instagram feed, and they're hand wound by me, obviously, and I can hand wind balls of yarn a lot better than I can do them on a yarn winder. I'm just completely hopeless at using a yarn winder. I don't know why, I just can't do it. Anyway, a few people have asked how I did it, this method that I've used. And I think I'll probably do a separate video for it because I just use my hand, just use my thumb, sort of like a nostopin. Occasionally I'll start it off with the nostopin, but you can do it without any tools if you need to. And they're centre pull balls and they sit nicely on the table. And they're really nice. They're not tight or anything like that. They're not stretching the yarn. They're quite comfortable and loose. So I think I'll do a separate video to demonstrate how I do that, because it can come in really handy when you're out and about and you desperately need to wind yarn. And I can do it without a swift as well. I just drape the skein, open skein, over my knees and just gently do it from there, and it works fine. Now my next whip is a pretty exciting one, but it's also a really small one. So you can see there, I have a toe at the tip of a toe. And this is the Wildflowers pattern. And I will put the name of the designer here because there's two patterns in a kit that I just got and I can't remember who did which one. Sorry ladies. The yarn is by Dingo Dye Works. Hello Peter. And it is so gorgeous. Oh my god, I've left the other skein in the other room and I'm not going to get up and get it, but you'll see it soon enough because as soon as I finish these socks, I'm going to cast on the next pair with the next colour. Now, in this kit, you got 2 full skeins of hand-dyed sock yarn from Dingo Dye Works and a half skein of a coordinating colour to do the cuff, heel and toes on 2 pairs of socks. And oh my gosh, they're so beautiful, the colours. I'm doing the Wildflower socks in this colour and this colour, so we've got these 2, and these ones are hand wound as well using the same method, and it's my preferred method. These ones don't look quite as pretty as the other ones, but never mind. And I think those colours just look gorgeous together. Check out this yarn. Oh, it's really not showing up. Oh, that's pretty good. There's so many different gorgeous colours in here. I absolutely love it. And I've finished the toe and I'm about to join this beautiful yarn on. And I'm really excited. I can't wait. I really want to finish those hand-spun socks, but I can't put these down. And these are part of a cowl as well. So it's the, if you have a look on Instagram using the hashtag Sister Socks Cowl, you will find them all there and they're so pretty. So excited. Now, my next piece is an FO, and you would have seen this in the last couple of episodes. It's been a whip in those episodes, but I finally finished this shawl. And I've blocked it, and it blocked out beautifully. It's got a little bit of a dip in it there because I've just pulled it off, had it hanging on the back of a chair. I need to flatten that out a little. So, bring it up a bit closer so you get an idea of what's happening, and you can see the border there as well. Love that, so beautiful. I'm so happy with this. And the yarn that I've used is called Bellissimo, and it's a 50-50 bamboo cotton blend, and I really love it. It's got the most beautiful drape to it. How's that? Like, oh my god, I love it so much. And I really think I have to make myself one. This one's for a friend. And I'm mad about it. I love it. And this pattern that I've used is one of my own, and I've vaguely written it up. So it needs a little bit of adjusting, and then I'll need some test knitters for it. But I won't be calling for test knitters until the new year because everyone's too busy over the Christmas period with gift knitting and other craziness. You don't need the pressure of a test knit as well. So in the new year I'll do some calls for some test knitters. And it's roughly a sports weight, this yarn, but you could do it in any weight yarn. And there's some easy calculations so that you could do it with any weight yarn. So you could easily do it with fingering weight or sports weight or DK, and if you were really keen you could probably do it if you wanted a nice chunky one with some worsted weight yarn. So really happy with that. Oh my gosh, I love it. It actually looks quite nice with this dress, but oh, it's so beautiful. I haven't thought of a name for it yet, but I might name it after the friend that I made this for. So this will be her Christmas present. Really happy with it. That is that one. I've got one more whip. Whip crazy this week. And this was almost finished last week when you saw it. Well, it is finished, but it's one sock out of a pair. So there we go. I think I was up to the cuff when I showed you last week, and I finally cast it off last night. And give you a better idea of that beautiful lace pattern. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. And this is the Silver Birch pattern by Naturally Knit, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern. I love it. I'm really happy with it, and I'm quite pleased with this yarn as well. It's pretty hardy, and love the colour, of course, mad for green. And I like this colour. It's sort of very vintage green to me. Reminds me of old pottery that my nan has. And I really love it. I used to live in a house with a bathroom this colour, and it wasn't just some of it this colour. The whole thing was this colour, like a big frog. The basin was on a ye olde basin on a stand, and it was this colour. The bathtub was this colour, the taps were this colour, the toilet was this colour, the floor was this colour, and the walls were this colour. It was just this colour. So it was like sort of stepping into this sock in the bathroom. Pretty cool. I absolutely loved it. So very cool. Oh, and it had like purple rugs in it as well. I don't know why they went with purple with this, but you know, I still loved it. So that is that one. I haven't even cast on the next one because I was too excited about those other socks to do that. Maybe once I finish those other pairs, I'll finish this pair as well. But I'm definitely not going to get second sock syndrome with this because I want to wear them. They're so cool. Love them. Absolutely love them. Now, you might remember from last week, and the week before, and probably the week before that, I told you about some pieces that I entered in the show, and last week I told you that I won some ribbons, and everything I entered won a ribbon. It's very exciting. So, what I got here? Excuse me. I've got second place for my socks, which was very nice. And I got, yeah, they're all sort of joined together. Second place for my hat. Woo! Red ribbon for my crochet hat. And I got first place for this guy. In the hand knitted shawl section, and I got you'll see there that it actually says, cover up stuff you don't need to see, equal first prize. So someone else must have got equal first as well. Oh, that's me. I got equal first. My 2 shawls that I entered into the shawl category both got firsts. Because when the judges are judging them, they don't have your name or anything on them, so they don't know if it's the same person that's done both or the 2 separate people. So this one got first as well, with the blue ribbon. But it also got best exhibit. This one, best exhibit in the show. So I got this big old sash. And I've joked about wearing it around town. Just drape it over me like that. Pretty pleased. Sitting in the beer garden at the pub with my sash on. I think people probably thought it was a hen's night. Little did they know it was me and all my knitting ladies sitting around. Pretty cute and funny, isn't it? I was very excited to win equal first place with myself. And then best exhibit for this. Very happy. And now I can wear this baby around. That's pretty exciting. I think that's actually a bit more exciting. I can actually use it. And because I got best exhibit in that show, I think it means that I can enter that piece into another show that's a bit more prestigious. I don't know if that's really the right word. I can't think of the right word, but it's a higher category than the show that I entered them in. They have a special thing for best exhibits. So that's what I got, and I'm really pleased with myself. I don't know where I'm going to display this. I've got one of those big IKEA box shelf things with all my yarn in it, and maybe I need to sort of hang it over the front of that. There's a bit of encouragement. But I think I've actually covered everything. I honestly spent most of the week knitting on that red top, so I didn't get a lot of anything else done. I've been loving watching everyone opening their advent calendars of all different varieties on Instagram, but it did make me think, am I the only person who doesn't have an advent calendar? Everyone seems to have one, and there's so many different amazing ones. I didn't see any for sale in the shops that were other than those standard kids ones with the chocolate. And I didn't fancy one of those. And people have got tea ones. I would love a tea advent calendar. And there's lots of yarny ones. I saw the opal advent calendars, but I didn't know what I would do with all those minis. I don't know that they would really suit my Cozy Memories blanket that I'm doing, and I thought, I want to get one, and I was like, no, I don't need one. But now I'm really sad that I didn't get one. And I see that lots of people were in advent swaps. I didn't hear of any of those going on with other podcasts, and I can't believe I missed out. Next year, I'm going to be all about the advent calendar. I did joke with a friend the other day that I should have made myself an advent calendar, but made it last Christmas, so that by the time I got it this Christmas, I'd have forgotten what I'd wrapped up for myself. So maybe that's what I'll do this year, make one for next Christmas, and it'll still be a surprise because I won't remember what I've done. That should be fun. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. And I've got some pod love. I very rarely do this because I forget, not because I don't want to, but I always think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk about that podcast I love. And then I go, well, see you later. And as soon as I hit the stop button on recording, I think, oh, I didn't talk about those podcasts I wanted to talk about. But I've remembered this time. I actually wrote myself a note. I've got 2 that I want to talk about. I watch lots of podcasts and I love them all. And I'm always looking for new ones. So if you've got any suggestions, write them down below. Oh, that reminds me, slight tangent here. If you've been writing comments on YouTube to me under my episodes, I've been replying, but I don't think the replies are going through. When I reply and I hit publish or send or whatever the button is, they show up and I can see that I've replied and the reply is visible there. But then, like the next day when I go back to reply to someone else's, I notice that none of my previous replies are there. So I don't know if you're seeing them and I'm not seeing them or what. But if you've left a comment and I haven't replied, it's possible that I have, and there's obviously some sort of a glitch. I did an update and now everything's gone strange. So apologies, I'm definitely not ignoring you. I just don't know how to counteract the strangeness with that update, but I should figure it out soon. But back to the pod love before I forget. The first one I've been watching right since it first started. I'm not sure how, but I stumbled upon it maybe a day or two after the very first episode was published, and I'm so happy that I did. I'd already followed this person. I think that might be how I found it. I follow them on Instagram already and have done for a very long time, and really enjoyed their feed. And then I saw a picture pop up on their feed saying they had a podcast and episode 1 was released, so I went and watched it straight away, fell in love instantly, and that is the Tea and Possibilities podcast with Nikki. Hi Nikki, just in case you're watching. I don't know if she watches this podcast, but I really, really enjoy her podcast, and I'm really happy every time I turn on my YouTube and I can see that she has a new episode pop up. I'm like, oh, excellent. She's really lovely. Her podcast is lovely. She shows interesting things and she talks about really interesting things, and she's a very bright and enthusiastic and charming young woman, and I really enjoy it. So if you enjoy hearing about knitting and life in the south of England and books and movies, you might enjoy Tea and Possibilities. And another podcast that I started watching pretty much as soon as the first episode came out, I think it came up as like a suggested one on YouTube. I don't know how, but it did. I found it. I'm really happy I did. And it's called the Fibermorphics podcast. And that's hosted by 2 young women in New Zealand, and they are named Hope and Nina, and they're really lovely and have a lovely connection, and they have a really lovely connection amongst themselves together, and it really comes through in the podcast. It's a real pleasure to watch, and they do a lot of spinning and really interesting spinning, and they're using mainly local fibres that are literally local to them, which is really interesting to hear about. And they do a lot of really interesting knitting, and they do things that seem to be a bit different than the things that your average podcaster makes. And I don't know if that's because they're in New Zealand and so they have access to different things or what it is, but they make some really amazing things. They do lots of knitting, crochet, spinning and sewing. So they talk about it all, and it's really great. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but my dad is from New Zealand, and so half of my family lives there and the other half lives here in Australia. And of course I have a deep soft spot in my heart for anything New Zealand. I don't think that's a word. And especially the South Island, where Hope and Nina are with the Fibermorphics podcast. I've never actually been as far south as Dunedin, where they live. I've always wanted to go that far down, but I think the furthest south I've been is maybe Fox Glacier, which is where my dad was born. So I think that's a furthest south I've been, but maybe not. I definitely haven't been to Dunedin though, and it looks gorgeous. They often put up little snippets of themselves out and about, and it's beautiful. The whole of New Zealand's gorgeous, but a really enjoyable podcast. They're calm and really pleasant, and they've got nice calm voices. It's a real joy to watch. So check out Tea and Possibilities with Nikki and the Fibermorphics podcast with Nina and Hope. And I think on that note, I'm going to leave you. I need to go and cook myself some dinner. I am starving and the dog hasn't been fed, and I can see her like looking at me like, lady, hurry up, it's past my dinner time. So I better go and feed her before she starts gnawing on a chair or something. She wouldn't do that, she's a very good girl. But I better go and feed her. Thanks a lot. I'll see you all again soon. Bye.